Welcome back to Edgework here on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Today is Monday, April 10th. It is the first day of the final week of the NHL regular season. Go through all the way until Friday with games this week, so we will have picks and previews of every single day throughout the course of this week, breaking it all down as we head into playoffs here. But guys, how are we feeling ahead of the final stretch of games ahead of playoffs here?
Pretty good, I mean, it seems like yesterday was just October, and now here we are, mid-April, getting ready for, what's going to be obviously the Crush Rush, and the next 9 weeks is going to be a lot of fun hockey. I think it's going to be one of the better postseasons we've seen in a while, and we've seen some good ones. Even in the bubble, things were weird, but obviously we ended up seeing some good hockey at the end of it. So, I'm just looking forward to hopefully getting these few games out of the way. All these other teams that, playing for exercise, as my friend Ian Cameron likes to say, get those out of the way and get the big boys in and start seeing some good playoff hockey.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think that this week is going to be really tricky, akin to the preseason, where there are a lot of edges to be had, but they're all informational edges. So you need to be on top of lineups like how you would be in the preseason. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to the Oilers playoff run as well.
Yeah, of course you are. I seen the tweets coming out. So many. We're all Oilers as we go down the stretch, getting ready for that. That is until they cross over and play the Leafs in the Cup Finals, of course. So then that stops. Then that stops there. What happened last night, So Money? I saw a tweet come out from you. We were on Jonas Johansson watch going into the weekend, and then Pete bringing up here Jonas Johansson sent to the AHL. Much sadness, but you still got your Jonas Johansson performance last night out of the Avalanche.
I did, yeah. So we had the over last night there, and I kind of telegraphed this on a last week's show when we talked about the Avalanche, with Bednar saying that Francouz was going to start on the second half of the back-to-back against Anaheim, and even that first Anaheim Colorado over that we lost, it was just a loss on the scoreboard. That game didn't play out as an under. That game didn't play out as what the score indicated. So we were right back on the over last night. So Francouz came up with his version of the Jonas Johansson performance. So we were happy about that. So I'm fine. I'm fine now with what everything has transpired, and I thank Jonas Johansson for his service this season.
Yes, he helped us out throughout the course of this year so far. But now as we get down the stretch, we're going to start to see some more teams gearing up for playoffs. Probably get to see some of these guys sliding down like Jonas Johansson back down into the AHL, and start to see some more of the NHL guys get geared up, the final tune-ups ahead of playoffs here. So we'll break down all the games here tonight. But a reminder to people, if you're watching the show right now, you haven't hit subscribe, you haven't hit that like button, please make sure to do so. As you see up on the screen right now, So Money's holding up the sign. Smash the like button here on the stream, or hit that subscribe button on the channel if you haven't done so yet. So please make sure to do so to support. If you hear anything talked about during the course of the show today, if you see any games that we don't have bets in but you do and you want our opinions, please make sure to send them in the chat during the course of the stream. We will bring them up and answer them here as we go along as well. If you want to see all the picks that we've given out throughout the course of this year, on this show. You can find all of that for transparency purposes, our record, ROI, COV, the unit sizes on every single game and bet that we've placed. You can find that all in the BetStamp app, which you can find on iOS and Android as well as web. You can find us there in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ, so you can see every single thing that we've done throughout the course of the season, track all the progress that we've made. And of course, throughout the course of the show, every time we bring up a game, we're going to pull up the BetStamp app for the odds on that game. We feel like the easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is to use multiple sports books and always get the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp to do so. BetStamp compares odds across every single sports book for games, futures, and player props. You can save time and money by checking out BetStamp before you bet. You can download the app today on iOS and Android, as well as you go over to web and sign up there. And if you are looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/edgework, or hit the link in the description. If you sign up through this page, it helps support the show, so please make sure to do so if you see any books here today that you don't have yet and you would like to sign up for. So let's get into tonight's action. We'll get into all the games. We'll break down all 10, give out our best bets, and we'll track them all. And then at the very end of the show, we'll recap every single pick that we've given out, what unit size we placed them at, as well as the odds we bet them at. So make sure to check that out. If you do miss it, you can get that all at the end of the show in a recap. But starting here tonight, we got a battle of Dallas on the road at Detroit. Dallas currently sitting as second in the Central. They're 2 points back at Colorado, 2 points up on Minnesota. Same amount of games played as both of those teams are coming into this one on a 3-game win streak. 7-2-1 in their last 10. Detroit, on the other hand, on a 2-game losing streak. Alex, you're looking at these two teams very obviously on opposite ends of the spectrum here. Dallas could be in a position to kind of catch up to Colorado and tie them again for first in the Central Division, or on the other hand, they could give up some space here on Minnesota catching behind them without any points here tonight. If you're looking to play this one, what is an angle that you might be looking at to take in this game tonight?
Well, we've been talking about it for most of the second half of the season. We talked about draw season, and we talk about looking at the regulation draw, because there's usually a lot of different variables that can play itself out to where teams, like I said, just need a point to improve their standings. And now, obviously, Dallas should be able to beat the lights out of this Detroit team's Red Wings team that's going nowhere. But they've actually been playing some feisty hockey, and we've seen a lot of scoring back and forth in these games. So, and when you see a higher scoring game, you tend to, okay, maybe it's back and forth. Dallas has not been this shutdown defensive unit yet. Their offense has been what's carrying them. Yes, Ottinger has had some great starts and made some big time saves, but he has also been susceptible to letting in some soft goals at times. And so a game where it could be 4-2 Dallas, all of a sudden, another goal goes in, it's 4-3. And now we've seen a lot of these starts games going to overtime. 3 of the last 4 meetings between Dallas and Detroit have gone past regulation. At 347, I'm seeing at Pinnacle. That's a price worth taking a shot on here with the draw. Like I said, Dallas, if they don't come out starting out, guns blazing, which, like I said, sometimes they don't. Maybe Detroit gets the lead, and Dallas has to come from behind. Try to get that at least 1 point secured and forced OT. So there's a couple of ways where I could see this one going, but all roads point to this game going past regulation. So plus 347, I'll take a shot with the draw here.
How much would you want to place on this here, Alex? Full unit on that one?
This will be a full unit play, yes.
All right, so we'll lock that in here. So, Money, is there anything for you in this one? Is there any way you'd play this one differently?
Not differently. I think if a couple of weeks ago I saw this number, I would have been all over Detroit. I do think that Dallas is inflated here. The problem is that Detroit is going with Ville Husso tonight, and he has been struggling lately. So I think it's where the number should be with Husso and Ned. I would have liked to see Nedeljkovic in there. I think that he started to actually find his form a little bit. I know I was really high on him last year, and he kind of lost quite a bit this year. So I'll pass on this game. I do think that Detroit has the ability to keep it tight, like how Alex mentioned. The only concern for me is Husso, so I'll pass for now.
All right, we'll stay off there otherwise. So we do have one official play in the first game of the night here in Dallas, Detroit, plus 347 on the draw. Now, moving on to the next game. So, Money, you're looking at this one potentially backing the Washington Capitals here tonight at home against the Islanders. Is that still the case, or would you maybe look to move off here?
No, we have some breaking news.
Okay.
So, Ovechkin and TJ Oshie remain out. They're not going to be in the lineup. Anthony Mantha is still in a non-contact jersey. So, yeah, I don't want to back Washington anymore. I looked at the number. Clearly, you're seeing these games where you have Alex's favorite games, the must-win games, and you see and you have these teams that are clearly inflated. I do look to bet the other way, but in this situation, you have certain teams that have mailed it in, and you have certain teams that are still playing out the season strong. I suspected Washington was already one of those teams that have mailed it in, and I without these guys in the lineup, and I just can't get there. Even if the Islanders, for whatever reason, don't start Sorokin and Ned, I won't be there on the Capitals anymore. Although that was the way that I was looking this morning.
Okay, so stay off of that one there. Now, in terms of just how this one might go here, you're looking at, it's a must-win for the Islanders on the road. Now, I'm kind of curious how you guys think there might be some type of deployment of the goaltenders. You want to kind of have the conversation of rest versus rust. How are you going to do that? If you are a team looking on the outside looking in, is this just full cylinders? The goaltending situation, maybe a guy like Sorokin, he's going to see the entire workload down the stretch here.
I think that in the Islanders case specifically, they do have a lot of confidence in Varlamov. So it's not like a Winnipeg Jets situation where the Jets must start Hellebuck every single game, right? There's no way around that. There's just too much of a difference between their two guys. The Islanders, they can get away with starting Varlamov, although I doubt that they would at this point because like why would you, right? So yeah, I think it's very team specific, and it does depend on the gap between your starter and your backup.
Right. Alex, I think you're on mute there. There you go.
Oh, yeah, here we go. No, yeah, I couldn't hear anything for a second. But yeah, this game, we talk about the Capitals mailing it in. They didn't just put it, outside their door for the mailman to pick it up or put it in the mailbox. They actually drove to the post office to mail this one in. They look awful. And this is a team that, for the entire season, there's been a lot of distractions. Obviously, Ovechkin has gone through so much, setting the record, of course, personal issues and different things of that. And the team, I've said this before where I really feel like this team kind of almost, viewed him as big of a piece as he is, more of a distraction this year, whether there's in previous years, his stardom kind of took away from, everybody else, and everybody could kind of be relaxed and play their style. But because of the fact that they aren't as deep as they were in previous years, they don't have the quality of goaltending in previous years. And so now it seems like everything was just kind of a disarray, and they just never quite got into a good enough rhythm to be a playoff team, and that's why they are where they are right now. Yes, I'm always saying a must win doesn't mean will win, but I think this is going to be a statement game for the Islanders here. I actually lean with the Islanders on the puck line, and I haven't played that too often this year, so it's something. Maybe I'll just shoot for a half unit right now. But like I said, my gut was going with the Islanders because I think Washington is more than checked out, and now, like I said, with no Oshie, no Ovechkin, who's going to do the offensive lifting? Probably nobody.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing fortunate if you're an Islanders fan, is that the Caps actually do match up very well against this Islanders team. This core of the Caps against this core of the Islanders, they play a big physical style of game, and and we've seen how these games play out between them. Washington does have success against them, but you take those guys out of the lineup, and injuries, getting older, mailing it in. I can't make a case for the Caps here at all.
Right. Well, I mean, I was looking at this preparing for the show today. I was just seeing like standings and where they were sitting at and how they've done over the last little while, and saw Washington 6-game losing streak. And you look at them in the standings, it's like dropping down a little bit more and more. 1-7-2 in their last 10. So I don't know if this is something you guys do or people in the chat do every now and then, but pulled up the Tankathon, the NHL Tankathon, and it took me 2 goes on it to just close it and not want to look at it anymore, because the very first one that I did was the Washington Capitals jumped to first in the draft, moving up 9 spots to pick first overall and get Connor Bedard. And the second one that I did was the St. Louis Blues jumping up 7 to go and get Bedard. And I closed it and was like, yeah, I don't want to see this anymore. These are not the teams I want to see going and getting Connor Bedard, but yeah, thought that was
I
funny
had that
Washington
bad feeling the other day too, looking at Washington in the standings. I didn't know about the Tankathon. I have to use that app. Hopefully it pulls up the Hawks more than anybody. But that's a frightening thing to think about, that Connor Bedard and Alex Ovechkin could possibly be teammates. And here's the thing, I talk about all the time. I tell Hawks fans, listen, when they got Patrick Kane, the Hawks had a 1.8% chance to win the number 1 seed. So anything can happen. We're getting happy as Hawks fans and Ducks fans and Jackets fans and Yotes fans. Hold the phone, because there's going to be about 12 or 13 teams that might have a legitimate shot. Those lottery balls, there's no way to really, control them the way you want them to bounce sometimes.
Well, I mean, we could give it a go here if you guys want to see it just for fun here. Just one
Sure.
go.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's switch this over. All right, here we go. I sent the link in the chat for anybody who wants to do it. You can get it for the NBA, NFL, NHL, and
I'm
MLB.
logging off if Vancouver wins.
Okay, here we go. We'll go 1 and 1 only. Sim Lottery. The Anaheim Ducks are your first overall selection this year, down Columbus 2nd, Chicago 3rd. I think that's okay. I'd be okay with that if that's what we walk away with.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, Vancouver in 9th there. They didn't move, at least. They didn't move. There was minimal movement in this one, so not as exciting as the ones that I was running this morning. But if anybody else wants to do this themselves, that your team is in contention for the draft lottery this year, that is something you guys can do. I sent the link in there. That's one I'll plug. I just send that because that's a fun one to rip every now and then. That was one that was massive here in Toronto for a few years, specifically McDavid and Matthews years. That Tankathon probably got the highest amount of traffic from the GTA area in that 2-year span. But moving on to the next game, and by the way, we did lock in.
Speaking of the Hawks, what's that banner behind Alex there?
Oh, that's the 2010 Stanley Cup. Yeah, I think you remember that year. So funny.
Yeah, that's gross. My whole morning's ruined now. Why you gotta put that on today, man?
It's always up there, man.
No, I never noticed it. I noticed it today, so that's annoying.
Right. Well, by the way, just for people watching along as well, we did lock in a half unit on the -1.5 plus 166 in that Islanders Washington game. But moving on to the next game here on the schedule, the Carolina Hurricanes on the road at Ottawa here tonight, taking on the Senators. Obviously for Carolina, a little bit more important. Even in these last couple of games, they have 3 games remaining on the schedule. They're a point up on New Jersey, 3 points up on the Rangers as it stands right now. This team is 4-5-1 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game losing streak. So, Money, looking at this game tonight between Carolina and Ottawa, yet again, another situation where we kind of sit here and say, must win does not mean will win, stealing from Alex. But if you're looking at this game, kind of, is there any way, any angles that you could take into this one, any way you play this?
Yeah, so the Senators are a team, like we talked about the Capitals kind of mailing it in. The Senators are not mailing it in. They do want to play out the season strong, and for the most part, they are doing so. They've been playing well. They were unlucky in overtime losses against Columbus, and they had an overtime loss against Carolina, I believe, there too. I thought they played well enough to win those games, and then even in a 7-2 loss in Florida, I thought that I thought Ottawa was very unlucky there. That game was not a 7-2 final at all. And it was the legend of Alex Lyon that got Florida through there. But so I don't really have a problem with Ottawa and the way that they're playing. Concern is that Sogard is confirmed in net tonight, and I mean he's shown lately he goes up and down, so he might be in like a down stretch right now. For the Hurricanes, it seems like every season going into the playoffs, I just don't know who they are. Their underlying metrics are always strong. They're always one of my top ranked teams, as I'm sure are for a lot of people as well. But scoring goes dry for long periods of time. I don't know if that will be the case against Ottawa here, who don't have a problem with going up and down the ice with teams. So I do think that this is another number that's inflated. But the difference between this game and the Washington game is that I do think that the Senators are playing strong. So I'm okay with a half unit on Ottawa here. We got
Plus
in the
165.
yeah, I think that's fine for a half. And the only reason I'm making it a half rather than a full unit is because I don't fully believe in my Carolina number, just because of the things I mentioned earlier. So I do like Ottawa here, and I'm okay with going half on them.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Carolina's probably one of those teams for the this week. I'm not even looking to touch at all. This is a team that, put them in the fridge, as opposed to where Ottawa, we're putting them in the box eventually once this week is done. But, some of these teams, and it's the thing, they're still kind of fighting for a division title. They're more than likely going to be the winners of that. Like I said, it would take kind of a crazy collapse and a good run from New Jersey the other way the next couple of games to flip that, I think. So Carolina, like I said, the thing is keep everybody healthy and fresh. Make sure no one does anything stupid, and then get ready for the games that matter. So yeah, if I were to bet anything on this game, if I had to bet something, it would be Ottawa or nothing.
I see here in the chat insight saying Arturs Urbe in goal for Carolina tonight.
Canucks legend too.
Yeah,
yeah. And Daniel H. at the good point here. Losing Svechnikov is a dagger for Carolina Cup hopes. And
certainly.
They crushed them offensively, that's for sure. So that was a big hit for them to have that.
But
happen.
they're still pesky enough in the playoffs. At least I wouldn't call for a first round upset of Carolina right away just because he's out. But yeah, down the road, that's definitely going to loom large if you got to try to beat the Rangers or Boston without him. Yeah, best of luck.
Right. All right, another game here to look at. A team that is not yet eliminated from from playoff contention in the Buffalo Sabres. If you look at them, mathematically still hanging around, 5 points back of Pittsburgh right now, 6 points back of the Islanders. They do have 2 games in hand on both of those teams, 6-3-1 in their last 10, and now on a 2-game win streak coming into this one. Facing off against the Rangers, who, as you kind of talked about there, with that Metro division as tight as it is, 2 points back of the Devils, 3 points back of Carolina. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10 coming into this one. Now looking at the Rangers at home, minus 183 favorites against the Sabres. Alex, is this price a little too far on the Rangers right now? Is this too expensive on the Rangers for where maybe it should be?
Yeah, it is. It is a tad bit pricey. And I mean, yes, okay, Buffalo is still not fully eliminated from the playoffs. That's like saying, yes, there are, single girls in your area, but are they actually trying to meet up with you? Like the ad indicates. Buffalo's done, right? Like, I mean, they're playing for pride. Obviously, you got Devin Levi, who's the future. They're, grooming him in net. He's had a couple of still halfway decent starts, but if it's not him in net, what are you going to Craig Anderson, who we've talked about waiting for his 4:00 pot roast dinner, or you're going to Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's still about a year or two away from being a legitimate, NHL goalie, or you're going with Eric Comrie, who I'm surprised he's not taking Russian lessons right now to get ready for the KHL next season. The goaltending's a mess there. The only thing to look at here with the Rangers would be team total over, because even if they aren't playing at a full 100% effort, they still should be able to get 3 or 4 goals up against this team. So that would be the only look I'd have. It wouldn't be anything official, but that's just the lean I would go toward.
Right, so currently sitting at 3.5 minus 110 on the over for that team total for the that's for the regulation for the game. 3.5 minus 126 for the New York Rangers. For
You bring up an interesting point. If I were to play it, I probably would play that regulation time. I don't see this game going to OT.
So there you go. If you are looking to play this in regulation, you can see the Rangers regulation time team total over 3.5 minus 110. You save yourself about 16 cents there off of the other lines available for that team total in full game compared to regulation.
And you have to shop around too, because I don't think every book offers a regulation time team total. Right. I know more of them just have including overtime.
Right. And so Money Rich H bringing up here, the Rangers playing their 4th game in 6 days. Is this going to add on to you to where the price is at, and maybe your thoughts on where it is and why it shouldn't be that?
Yeah, it's been a heavy schedule lately for the Rangers, and I don't think that. I think they've been playing okay for what the results indicate, but in this particular game, these two teams did play last week. Buffalo won in overtime in a game that I felt that they were a little bit lucky to win that game. I thought the Rangers probably should have won that game. So in terms of the matchup itself, I think that the Rangers should win this game. But for me, I got nothing here. Levy is going to be in net for Buffalo, so I'm interested to watch him play tonight. But other than that, I think that it's a good number there on the Rangers.
Have you guys seen the photos of comparing Levi to Carey Price and how they kind of look similar? Have you seen those circulating around?
No, I haven't seen that.
I'm going to look that up.
Look it up, especially if you're in the chat. Look it up as well, and then tell me that that's not the case. It wasn't me who found this. I saw this circulating on Twitter last night, that there's photos of them side by side. They kind of look alike. So I think people in Buffalo are getting a little ahead of themselves, doing some comparisons there in terms of their young goaltender to the guy.
So he's basically going to have a 2.2 goals against his whole career and never get past the conference final.
Oh, come on now. If he has half the career that Carey Price did, I think that Buffalo is
they'll be in great shape for sure. Of course. I kid.
And the future of a Canadian goaltending maybe too, right? Like, who does Canada have in goal right now? Carter Hart and Jordan Binnington. If Binnington hasn't lost his mind by then, right? So
yeah, that guy, I don't think that guy could last through the course of a 60-minute game in international hockey based on how much tighter that is. He'd legit go nuts. Yeah, so don't need that. All right, well, I shouldn't have been laughing when Alex made the joke in terms of the Habs and Carey Price and career success, because the next game that we're looking at, we broke down the game on Thursday. I tried to skip past it, the Leafs against the Bruins, and unfortunately, So Money has to go and bet on the Leafs in that game, and then say that it's going to be coming back to me if they lose the game, and of course they lose in overtime. So
it's your fault the way we lost that game.
It's a double stinger on that end because, of course you lose to the Bruins in overtime. That sucks. But then in the back of my mind, as soon as I'm trying to get over this, I'm realizing now So Money has lost and the show's lost on this one because the Leafs couldn't hang on and beat the Bruins and, of course, lose to them in overtime. But now here we are down the final 3 games of this regular season for the Leafs. Looks like I haven't seen any reports out of Morning Skate, but they signed the kid out of college, Matthew Nyes, after they lose in the NCAA championship with Minnesota. So he's joined the team now. Likely going to get some looks in the last 3 games of the regular season to see if he could be of any use to them in the playoffs. But more than anything, these will be tune-up games. Matt Murray doesn't travel on the road with the team. He's not ready to go. So we'll see how they decide to play this one out with Samsonov over the next few days. But the Leafs on the road here tonight at Florida, finishing off the season, 3 consecutive games on the road. And Florida right now, a little bit more desperation than Toronto would be in, as they are currently sitting first in the wild card spot in the East. They are tied with the Islanders in points, same games played as them. They're a point up on Pittsburgh, coming into this one on a 6-game win streak. This Panthers team on a roll coming in here tonight, favored -130 at home. So money, where are we at? Is this one going to be is my livelihood on the line here again tonight for the Leafs?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So this one's on you again, but no,
Nice.
seriously, like I come in a lot higher on the Leafs than most people outside of the Toronto market. I think that's no secret. I'm very bullish on this team. I did play the Leafs. I played them small. I will play them. I will add to them once I get some roster clarification. With teams playing out the stretch like the Leafs are, you always want to be kind of ready for any last minute lineup changes. However, I do think the Leafs going into the playoffs, it's a different outlook than a lot of other teams. And I think that Zach, you can probably speak to this better than I can. But everything that I've seen coming out of Leafs camp, Sheldon Keefe was saying that the last few games of the season, they are going to be taking it seriously in terms of getting ready for the playoffs. I think that there are defensive pairings. I think they want to get it ironed out going into the playoffs as well. So I'm fine with betting the Leafs here. I've mentioned many times you have these must-win prices, and you have to ask yourself what would this number have been 2 weeks ago with this game in Florida, right? So and clearly the premium has been charged if you want to bet on the Panthers. So anything in terms of must-win or desperation and all that, we're already seeing that in the line. So there's no additional advantage there on the number itself. So I do like the Leafs here. Concern I have is that they do have Tampa Bay tomorrow. Now, it's tough to get into coaches' heads, but if it were me, I would use this game as trying to get ready for the playoffs and use tomorrow's game just not to show your first round opponent anything, right?
Yeah.
And maybe bench a bunch of guys and then use the final game of the season as like the final playoff tune-up. So that's the way I would do it. It makes sense to me, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. So that's the reason why I'm half on the Leafs right now. But if there are no surprises, I will be on the Leafs as a regular play. And if the Leafs are losing this game, Zach, you should probably put your phone away.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I'll do that. I might just turn the TV off at that point and just pretend it's not happening as well. But yeah, I would be on probably the same page as you, especially in terms of how to play these ones out. And with Tampa tomorrow, the other thing that I would also say, which I think is kind of interesting, I don't know if it's something on top of their heads, but just because I've watched the team so much. Last year, the last week, I think it was, of the regular season, as we knew we were going to play Tampa in the first round, they played Jack Campbell in net against Tampa, and that was the night he got lit up for, I think it was 9 goals against the Lightning, and it was about a week out from playoffs. Now, I think this team is much different this year, especially defensively, in terms of how they match up against the Tampa. Nonetheless, knowing what happened last year with Campbell that week out, I just would not want to risk psyche of Samsonov, even in the slightest, going into Tampa there tomorrow. So that would be a stay away for me as well, if that's a possibility, if you can get Wall up here on an emergency recall or something. But yeah, so that's kind of how I would play it as well. Alex, are there any thoughts from you in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very astute look by So Money. That makes total sense. It's the old preseason kind of NFL way of looking at things. If you got a team you get in the 3rd or 4th week of preseason, then you play them, a month later, you're not going to show anything. You put a bunch of guys who wouldn't even be there. And, maybe Toronto, tries to pull that move and call up a bunch of guys from the Marlies, just stick them in there and just, treat this game as nothing, which I think would be awesome personally, because there's somebody who I think, the Leafs could beat the Bolts in the playoffs. Maybe the books look at that and don't recognize that, they're just kind of, holding their hands and not doing anything and just kind of letting this play out so they won't show anything on the side. and then the prices get adjusted differently a week from now when we're looking to bet some serious prices. So but then if you look at that angle, you think John Cooper, he's one of the better coaches in the league. You think he's probably not going to think about doing the same thing as well. So it makes that game almost untouchable for tomorrow. But for tonight, it's tough. Like I said, I like the quote saying that Toronto's going to play and try to get things amped up. I think that, like I said, for the sake of the team and the franchise and the fan base, they need to get that momentum going. Play playoff hockey now. And we were talking about it off air earlier. It goes down to the crowd as well. We see some of these kind of quieter regular season crowds, and we need to see some more intensity out of that crowd. And I think that might actually catch even a team like Tampa Bay, with all the playoff experience they've had, all the crazy buildings they've played in, including their own. But if you aren't expecting, especially if you just played this team last year, if you see something completely different that you weren't expecting from last year's postseason or previous trips in that barn, and all of a sudden it sounds like it's Game 7 overtime of the Stanley Cup final. And this is a Tampa Bay team that I've been saying for a while now, they're not built to play moving forward like they have been in the last 3-4 postseasons. Toronto needs to build that atmosphere, build that winning culture. You're doing it on the ice. You have the personnel, but just build it all throughout everything. And I think winning these games now, it sets the tone for that. So if I had to play this side, I would definitely look at the Leafs here, even though it has been hard to fade the Alex Lyon train right now, which I'm actually happy about as well, because once again, that sets up another really great first round match to potentially, if they end up drawing Boston. I don't think Lyon's going to be looking that sharp in a week from now. So this is a fun game to watch and an important game for how everything shakes out in the East, but I would definitely be looking at Toronto here at plus money.
Well, Alex, I will say, I know we talked about it a little bit before we started the show, but I think that in terms of the playoff energy in Scotiabank in Toronto, I think it's a little blown out of proportion of what it is. In the regular season, I would say it's an accurate reflection in terms of, okay, it's quiet in there, there's not much. But I think in the playoffs, I don't think it follows suit in terms of that. I think they actually get pretty fired up in there. They get loud, react to things, like they actually get pretty excited in that building. Maybe not to the extent of other buildings, and maybe that's kind of where you're saying. And I think that is something, if they could build to some of that, the louder, more rowdy buildings around the NHL for the playoff atmospheres, that could help maybe even take it to that next level. But in terms of it being a library in there, as it is commonly referred to, for the regular season, I would say that's fairly accurate. It's not that far off. In terms of for the playoffs, I think that it is actually pretty loud in that building. So I will give it credit for the playoffs, at least. Once they get to the playoffs, it gets louder.
Maybe some of those other fans should watch some videotapes of how he used to do it at 1901 West Madison during the playoff time. That's a loud atmosphere.
Fair enough.
I think to be fair, there we need to wait for this team to get to the first round. Like obviously there's a lot of apprehension there with like the fans. And
yeah.
There's that impending dread that something is just gonna go wrong. It's just gonna go wrong eventually. And I feel that as a Canucks fan every morning I wake up. But I think that when this team gets past the first round, I think that'll be a better indication of the mindset of the fans and like how loud that building can get. So yeah. I think we need to wait.
But that's the thing, though. Don't you have to manifest that, and visualize it? Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's been so dreadful for so long. And as a Hawks fan, I joke around, but I mean, I remember the dark days too. The thing is, you have to manifest it as a whole, and the players are going to do that. The coaching staff are going to do that. But and I'm not saying, the fans are going to be the one that carry the team to the finals, of course, or anything like that. But I just think that put that positive mindset in your head now. And, of course, obviously, things can change. You'll be disappointed. But at least don't go in there thinking, oh, here we go again. Because that's going to be the worst thing. Is if the players feel that and then you lose game one and then everybody's going, here we go again. Now, that shot is blown. But at least, all right, be positive for game one. And then, all right, we lose game one. But we do have another game. You have to kind of almost trick yourself into the happiness.
The only thing I'll push back on that, though, is that when the Hawks that building was insane, but when they were winning, they had if my memory serves me right, they had one playoff series loss before that, where I think they lost to Detroit before before they went on to win their cup. So there was no time for there to be disappointment built into the fan base. You went from a really bad team to a playoff team to one loss against the eventual Stanley Cup champions to your Stanley Cups, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Whereas Leafs, like Leafs fans, all they've known their whole lives is playoff losses. Besides that, the late great Pat Quinn era, right? So
Right.
besides that, that's like the younger fans, like that's all they've known, the Pat Quinn era and the Wayne Gretzky, Doug Gilmour high stick era, right? And like
Yeah.
that's it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. That's
it's been well said.
a lot more of a history. There than yeah. So I agree with that.
Yeah, it's not yeah, it's not as much not believing, I would say, Alex, and maybe more so not trusting this team, just the lack
Gotcha.
of
Yeah.
trust in the
Yeah.
organization as opposed to lack of belief. Because I think if you ask Leafs fans, they believe the team can win. Do they trust that they will win in situations that they should? No. I mean, look at the series against Columbus in the bubble year, then look at the series against Montreal, the year that it was the Canada division. I think those are 2 years as well to kind of take away some of that trust for the team where you should have at least gone through some of those. But questions here for you guys before we move off of this one. Rich H asked a Lion saves prop. He had asked earlier a Levi saves prop. I know you guys aren't too much into the props here, but I think specifically, even less so, goalie props. It's something that we haven't even done one time throughout the course of the show this year. Is there anything you guys would be interested in goalie props? And I'll pull up the numbers here. Like it would be 28.5 saves for Alex Lyon here tonight, over -118, best price available, under -108.
I would be a little more cautious going with Lion saves props than Levi saves props, and here's why. If Lyon gives up a few goals early and doesn't look shaky, or look shaky, I should say, in the first period, there's a good chance they just go on and pull him and rest him for the next game. Whereas I think Devin Levi, like I said, they're just trying to break him in and let him get acclimated. We saw him the other night. He gave up 6 goals and still ended up getting the win against Detroit. He's given up goals in bunches, but that's not really a concern. They're looking at the bigger picture, obviously with Buffalo and Levi. So if I were to pick either one of those guys to go over saves props, probably pick Devin Levi before Alex Lyon.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that especially at home, Florida, they do tend to play a more fast paced game. They generate more offense, give up a lot of defense, a lot defensively. So, yeah, I would piggyback on what Alex is saying. I would probably agree with that assessment.
Okay, so I did look. There was no Devin Levi props available here on BetStamp app quite yet. You could obviously find the Lion ones as I pulled those up, but yes, I think that those are pretty good. That's pretty good advice from Alex there in terms of where to look, especially considering how important this is for Florida relative to how important it is for Buffalo, if you're going to at least compare the two. Now, in terms of teams of importance, and as we mentioned, trusting teams, looking at a game with Winnipeg at home here tonight against San Jose, we're seeing another massive price. Winnipeg laying -333. Currently, second wild card in the West. There are 3 games remaining. 1 point up on Calgary as it stands right now. 2 points up on Nashville. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but nonetheless, this Winnipeg team has been a team that all season long we have struggled on the Edgework show. Doesn't matter what day it is or who's on the show that day, we've struggled to trust this Winnipeg team. Sitting at -333. So, Money, do you trust Winnipeg here tonight?
Not at that number. Um, the Sharks are giving up giving up a lot defensively again. They're playing high event games right now as well. These two teams did play a couple of weeks ago in a game that was a high event game, but Reimer was outstanding, and the Sharks somehow got out of there with a 3-0 win. But I've got in my notes that was a high event game. So the final score was not indicative of how that game played. I would want to look at the over here, but after a dip in play, we're seeing Hellebuck kind of find his form again. And the Jets, they are interesting in their style of play right now. One thing I've noticed about them is that against playoff teams, they are willing and able to play it tight. We saw this against Nashville, Calgary, Los Angeles as recent examples in games where the Jets play it tight and it becomes a very low event games. But against non-playoff teams and out of conference opponents, they're fine with opening it up. Um, we saw this with examples against the Devils, who obviously are out of conference, and Red Wings and Sharks in that game I just mentioned, for non-playoff teams, as recent examples of where the Jets are okay with with opening it up. Hellebuck has started. Tonight will be his 12th straight start, and which would make it 15 of the last 16 now for Hellebuck, which is an insane workload, especially at this time of year. But um, even with the weaker opponent on the front end of the back to back, they're still going to him as they should. So I did like the over at 6.5 with Hellebuck. It's tough to get there for me. So I will pass, but I know Alex likes the live lines, especially when teams get off to a slower start and you see that total dip a little bit too much. I think that if you have access to the live number, 6.5 pregame, I can't get there, but I do expect this to be a relatively fast-paced game. And if there's no scoring early and the number dips a little bit, I think that the live over would be the way to go here.
I appreciate the segue there, so money. It's definitely the way I would be looking at this. This is a great candidate for a live over at a 5.5. And like you said, with Hellebuck, make a mental note of that, everyone, that he's having this many starts, and that's always been the knock on Hellebuck, right? He's a fantastic world-class goalie, but the Winnipeg Jets lean on him so much and so heavy to the point where this guy can't get a break. And now, you're running a guy 15 out of the last 16 games it starts, or if he starts here 16 out of 17. And then now you're supposed to expect him to stand on his head and give you, 10 bell saves for 4 out of 7 games in the playoffs. Like, if the Jets fall in the playoffs, which I do think will happen, that might be part of the reason why. So something to keep a note of. But as far as this game goes, like I said, a live over is the only thing you look at. You can't take anything San Jose wise. It's hard to even try to rely on them to get goals. Even with a 5.5, you're still asking the Jets to go 3, 4, 5 goals on their own, essentially, especially if Hellebuck's on point. If he's not, then that might make things a little bit easier. So, like I said, this is a game to watch a little bit, wait and see, and you might find something in the game.
All right, so stay off of this one as for the pregame looks in this Winnipeg San Jose game. It'll be interesting to watch, especially considering how this is must win for Winnipeg. And as Alex says, and we continue to bring up here on the show, does not necessarily mean will win, especially for this Jets team. And at minus 333, it is a little bit of a scary number heading into the game here. But a game where it has relatively minimal impact, other than for essentially Minnesota here, where they can kind of jump themselves back to a position where they could tie back into the Central, depending on where it goes with Dallas. But Minnesota on the road tonight at Chicago, taking on the Blackhawks. Minnesota right now 3rd in the Central. They are 2 points back of Dallas, 4 points back of Colorado, 6-2-2 in their last 10 games. Now, Alex, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this, but I did see that Minnesota did sign that kid out of the Minnesota Golden Gophers hockey program, the captain of Minnesota, Brock Faber, I believe is his name. If he might be getting an opportunity to get into the lineup here in the last little while, and kind of how do you think Minnesota treats these final games, as this is your current home city and your actual team that you cheer for in Chicago? What is your breakdown of tonight's game? Where do you go with this one?
Yeah, I certainly will be glued to the television to watch this one as always. But it'll be interesting to see how the Wild. I'm not quite sure exactly how the Wild are going to manage the last few games. At this point, the division title seems to be out of race. It seems like more than likely they're going to be opening on the road against Dallas. And I think the biggest concern for them is to keep everybody healthy. Most notably, number 97, Kirill Kaprizov. They're trying to bubble wrap him if possible. And if everything's all settled before the season ends, he'll probably be sitting in the press box for that last game of the regular season for sure. So we might see, except Brock Faber. Certainly, I would think the Wild have one more home game that's more than likely where he'd get his debut. He's from Minnesota, high school, U of M, as you mentioned, and now playing for the hometown team. I'm sure you have a ton of friends and family there. So that might be when we start to see that as far as being on the road here in this game. The only thing I would look at here would be the over. I mean, Chicago's defense is just virtually non-existent right now. The goaltending shaky, and if I'm Dean Evison, I give Fleury the start here, not because it's the team he was playing with for a brief moment, but also just the fact that you want to get all the rust knocked off of Fleury, and you want to give Gustafsson some rest. Gustafsson has been lights out. He has to be your game one start at this point. But like I just mentioned with Hellebuck, you don't want to burn out your top goalie before you have to get into certainly it's going to be a firefight in their first round matchup with the Dallas Stars and having to open on the road. So I think you give Fleury the bulk of the work. I'd probably give him the rest of the season, honestly, if I was coaching the team down the street. But I'm not, so we'll have to wait and see what the actual confirmations are. So I lean with the over.
Okay.
What I appreciate about Dean Evison is that I always like coaches who fit into a pattern for me, and I can kind of figure out where they're gonna go with with the goaltender. So I really do appreciate that. The last there you go. The last that's awesome. The last few weeks here, we're seeing a back and forth, steady rotation with Gustafsson and Fleury. So I would guess that Fleury starts today, Gustafsson tomorrow. Fleury last game of the season, Gustafsson game one, and it better be Gustafsson in game two as well. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I agree with Alex's look here. With Fleury going, obviously he's a downgrade on Gustafsson. The total is 6. Minnesota has actually started playing well offensively as well. Even with a Kaprizov out, they're starting to get secondary scoring now, which is interesting and something that they don't usually are able to rely on when Kaprizov is playing. So that's something to look for. I would expect Minnesota to be able to put up like 4 on the Chicago defense. I can't see any reason why they don't, and I think that if Chicago can get us to 2, we're fine. So I do like the over here, and especially at a plus money 6, I'm okay with making that official.
Okay, so we'll lock that in there. Official pick on this one. The over 6 plus 104. We'll go full unit on this in Chicago, Minnesota. And there you go. So money in the other game. We do have some breaking news here. Thanks to people in the chat. Always appreciate when they do that, but we'll click the animation for it. Daniel H confirming, Ovi confirmed out now as well for that Caps game. So there you go. Even more breaking news in the chat there, but lock that one in. Official pick over 6 plus 104 in Minnesota, Chicago. A few games left here on the schedule.
One quick thing. I got dropped out, but I was laughing so many when you said about it should be Gustafsson for game 1 and game 2. I've actually listened to a couple of shows here in Minnesota, and there are people who are actually, petitioning for maybe they should keep alternating the goalies in the playoffs, which is the craziest thing ever.
My God.
Yeah.
That's
so
insane.
yeah.
Well, I mean, the conversation here in Toronto for a little bit had been Samsonov play at home, Murray play on the road based on their home road splits of the regular season, and there was a serious debate of whether or not that should be the case. So, that I think that's dismissed now. But yeah. All right. I got to ask here, so money. We're looking at a game with the Nashville Predators on the road at Calgary tonight. This is one I have no idea what to do with myself. I have no idea which way to lean, what to think of the prices in this one. Calgary currently sitting at home minus 189 against the Preds. This is a team that we thought should have been dead weeks ago, and yet they continue to stay in it. I saw a tweet from So Money on Saturday night, I believe, or Saturday afternoon, saying by the end of tonight, Nashville could be sitting in a playoff spot. They're not currently, but they are close. 2 points back at Calgary, who's ahead of them, still out of the playoffs as well, but 3 points back of Winnipeg. You got same games played as them. They have 3 games remaining on their schedule. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They just continue to pick up points, not mathematically out of this one. And now Calgary is a team 1 point back of Winnipeg outside of the playoffs. 2 games remaining in their season. 6-3-1 in their last 10. They lose a very meaningful point the other night to Vancouver in a shootout. What do you do here tonight with this Nashville-Calgary game, So money?
So I think there's some organized chaos here, which is what I love and I look forward to. The Winnipeg San Jose game starts at 4 p.m. Pacific time. um, and the Calgary game, I believe, starts at 6:30 Pacific time. So when Calgary and Nashville hit the ice, they'll have a very good idea with what's going on with 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 the Winnipeg game. Now, if San Jose is winning that game, or there's a good chance that San Jose is going to win that game, I think that Calgary Nashville game becomes a playoff game, and in that sense, I would be looking at the under there. If if Winnipeg is winning that game, Nashville, for all intents and purposes, they're essentially done. Whereas Calgary would still have a shot. So you'll probably see that number on Calgary getting higher. And I would not play the under in that situation. So I think that you have to wait, probably right before puck drop. If Winnipeg is losing that game, then I do like the under. If you want to get really frisky, and if you agree with kind of where like the mindset is, you could conceivably set up a correlated parlay here with San Jose and the Calgary Nashville under, but that's if you want to really get out there. So let's for now, I'm waiting to see before the puck drop of the Nashville game what's happening in the Minnesota game, and then we'll be I'll be playing the under, and maybe even this may even set up Alex's draw season here as well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is there if there's a play in the draw? I know there's another bet you have in this one that you like, Alex, but that one as well. There could be an opportunity for a second one, especially people in the chat. Rich H saying draws, Phil, and Daniel
Yeah.
H bringing up an initial read is to look at a draw in this game. But Alex, you are the draw master here of draw season. What are your initial thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is the clear cut candidate for taking a shot with a draw. This is the one I would probably play for the half unit, except these are two teams that need points. But this is one of those games. If I were to make a meme of this, it would be the Spider-Man meme, but it would be on a golf course because both the teams are identically the same and they're going nowhere. I get like I said, Calgary still got a puncher's chance, but and just Nashville has just been so just a odd team, right? They haven't had like any identity as far as it seems like okay, are they going to be this great, speedy over team? Are they going to be this under team and rely on UC Saros? Are they great at home? Then they started losing at home, where they've, potentially always been a dangerous team at Bridgestone Arena. It's just, that kind of inconsistency is what keeps you on the outside looking in. And same thing with Calgary. It's a Calgary team everybody was really high on, thought they would be really good. It seems like everybody's kind of tuned out Sutter in the locker room, which comes to no surprise to me. I didn't know why he, was still sticking around for 3 years on that contract. He's a guy you want to help build the program, not actually run it these days. So it's a messy game, like the draw, but I also love this first period over. And that's something we've been seeing Cash a lot with this Calgary team. And for the most part, too, with Nashville, it's been, like I said, their lack of defensive structure. But also with Calgary, we always talk about the first periods with Jacob Markstrom, always a bit sluggish, but just first periods in general. But Markstrom even more susceptible to giving up those first few shots and letting one trickle past him. So this great of a price, laying like just $1.10, I'm going with that first period over. That's a full unit play along with the half unit on the draw.
All right, so you go. Two best bets in this one: the full unit, first period over 1.5 minus 110, as well as the half unit.
I also like with
on the
Insight.
draw.
Insight had a great comment too of the real best bet of this game. Change the channel.
Yeah. Yes, I did see this here. Turn the channel. That's the best way to play this one, is to not watch it and get it off your TV. All right, couple games left here before we go through and recap all of these. First one, looking at Seattle, Arizona. Seattle on the road at Mullet Arena here, and this Coyotes team has been pretty good at home all season long. 21, 14, and 4. They have 2 games remaining in their season, just trying to get through these 1-7-2 in their last 10. Now Seattle is comfortably sitting in the first wild card spot in the West. Not too big of a price here for them. Minus 227 on the road relative to some of the other big prices that we've seen, that I'm referring to, especially here on today's slate. Alex, is there anything at all, Seattle, Arizona, that you might look towards, or is this just complete stay off game?
Yeah, this is a clear pass for me. I mean, cash a couple with Seattle. They beat Arizona, of course, to officially clinch their playoff spot. Beat the crap out of the Hawks, which I was really happy about. Hawks, of course, 0 points helps them in the Bedard race. I also had that first period over. It's weird how the Hawks in Seattle just the few games they've had, all of them have been basically high scoring. So maybe you could take a look with some live looks with the over. But Arizona's spiciness at home, I think, is kind of run out. We saw them, being competitive at Mullet Arena for quite some time, but now it just seems like they're playing out the string. They know the season's over, and I'm sure kind of hard to be on a losing team and hanging out in Tempe, Arizona, on the Arizona State University campus and trying to stay focused there. So Seattle probably wins this game 5-1, but it's not worth betting on.
Yeah, I think it's another game where the number's too high. I do like I do like Arizona on the number, but realistically, it's tough for me to get there. Like on a subjective level with Arizona right now. I guess there's still a chance that Seattle can catch LA, but um, I got I. I got nothing here. I think that Arizona's been playing better, but last time I said that they reeled off 9 straight losses. So I don't know who this Arizona team is. So I'm okay with not doing anything here.
All right. Well, I mean, it's a good segue into the final game of the night here. Talking about Seattle could possibly catch the LA Kings. Well, LA right now on a 3-game losing streak coming into their game tonight at home against your Vancouver Canucks. So money, and this LA team third in the Pacific right now, 5 points back of Edmonton, 7 points back of the Vegas Golden Knights, and this game here tonight could be an opportunity for them to grab some points and continue to stay ahead of Seattle, as they have 2 games remaining in their season. Seattle has 3 games remaining, and we talked about that 2-point differential. Now LA minus 182 tonight at home against the Canucks. So money, how do you break this game down between these two teams tonight?
If I know anything about the Canucks, they played hard on Saturday night in their last home game of the season. The team made a concerted effort to come out strong, and they did, and they won that game, even though they blew another lead. Demko was strong. If I know anything about this team, they're gonna fall flat tonight. Even even with the Kings missing their guys, who um, they I think the Kings, those guys should be close to coming back, but even with the Kings without their guys, they played well against Colorado on Saturday. I thought that they were unlucky in many facets of that game. So I would expect them to go with Korpisalo tonight. We could see a Colin Delia sighting as well, but I'm not there on the Kings. I'm at that number, but I would not encourage a play on the Canucks tonight either.
Okay.
Yeah, and so many apologies for Colin Delia. He's awful. I know that as a Hawks fan.
The funny thing is that like when the first few starts, I was watching him, and then the numbers correlated this as well, that like he's actually not that bad, and then reality hits, right, and then like
Yeah.
he's just awful, and like also this is coming from the goaltending that we were getting earlier in the season, where they made Colin Delia look like a star as well. So yeah, he's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, but like I said, this is a clear LA spot. I think early. I wouldn't trust them to put this game away completely, even though they should. So I'm going to take a shot with the first period puck line. I'm going to lay that half a goal, try to grab a little bit of some plus value there, rather than look at the full game. And I've seen as high as plus 144 at Pinnacle. Let's see at 145 as well. So that's some good value. King should come out hot and ready and at least win the first period. And like I said, maybe with Vancouver, it's, end of the year, maybe they kind of just fall flat and just play out the string, and LA can cruise to like a 3-1, 4-1 victory. But make some adjustments. With that in game, I just stick with the first period puck line on the Kings for now.
And half unit, full unit on this, Alex?
Make that a half unit.
All right, so there you go, half unit on that. I believe that is all the games, all the plays we have for today. So again, if you do want to track all the picks that have been given out on the show throughout the course of the year, you want to see how we've done throughout the course of the year, you can find that in the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ. queue in there. You won't be able to see the picks for tonight as they are locked until game time. But that being said, you go to the end of the show, or as I'm about to do right now, you can find all the picks recapped. So let's go through them all the picks that we have for today. I will specify half unit, full unit on these, as well as prices played in the game. So bear with us. We'll recap them all here for people who are watching or coming through to just find out what the picks are at the very end. But here you go. Starting with the first game of the night, Dallas at Detroit. We are taking the regulation time draw plus 347 for a full unit in that one. That is the Dallas Detroit game plus 347 regulation time draw, full unit there. Then go to Washington, New York with the Islanders. We're taking the Islanders puck line minus 1.5 plus 166 for a half unit. So that's the Islanders minus 1.5 plus 166 half unit. Now in Carolina, Ottawa, we are taking a half unit on the Ottawa Senators plus 165 in that game against the Hurricanes in Ottawa here tonight. So Ottawa plus 165 half unit on the money line. Now we are taking the Toronto Maple Leafs plus 120 money line on the road against the Florida Panthers for a full unit there. The Leafs money line plus 120 for a full unit. Next up, we have the Minnesota-Chicago game. Minnesota on the road at Chicago. And we are looking at the over 6 plus 104 for a full unit. Over 6 plus 104 for a full unit. And next, we go to Calgary, Nashville. We got the first period over 1.5, minus 110, full unit there. That is Calgary, Nashville, over 1.5 in the first period, minus 110, full unit. And then we go to the regulation time draw in this game as well, plus 353 for a half unit in Calgary, Nashville. Regulation time draw, plus 353, half unit. And final pick of the night. Vancouver, LA Kings. We're looking at the LA Kings first period puck line minus 0.5 plus 144 for a half unit in that one. That is the Kings first period puck line minus 0.5 at plus 144 for a half unit. If you enjoyed the show today, please make sure to hit subscribe here on this channel as well. So Money, bring it up here on screen for everyone to see. If you haven't already while you've been watching and before you leave, smash that like button before you go. Smash the like button, hit subscribe on this channel as well. Coming up after this show here today, we do have MLB picks and previews with John Legeza over on the Cult of the Pen YouTube channel. You're going to want to check that out as he goes through very similar process to what we did here today on the show for the NHL. He will do that for the MLB, so make sure to check that out. John Legeza from The Athletic coming up after this show. Once this ends, you'll be able to see there is an option on the screen for you to click on, head over there and get the MLB picks for today with John. It is a very energetic and exciting show, so you want to check that out. But again, if you enjoyed the show here today, please make sure to like and subscribe. So Money, I will see you back on Thursday. Alex, I will see you on Wednesday. Guys, enjoy your weeks. If the Leafs lose tonight, please, nobody message me. So Money, that you're involved in that bucket. Please do not message me. I had to hear about it on Thursday after the game. I'll just wait to hear from you on Thursday's show. So we'll keep it to then. Keep it bottled
No
up.
promises.
Okay. I'll see you guys throughout the rest of the week. Enjoy the games tonight. Good luck on your bets. And for everyone else, I will see you guys back here tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time for more picks and previews. And to everyone watching, good luck on your bets tonight.